Hi everyone. Wanted to come here today to talk to you about the Module 4 notes and grading. I have completed all the grading, so you should see those in Blackboard. And I have some notes here that I want to go over regarding your comments and work so far in this module. So you all are really, and this was in Module 3 as in Module 4, some kind of group thoughts that I have for both modules is that you're really seeing the value of the student affairs professional. I know someone said, is it practitioner, is it professional, is it educator? I mean, it's all in one, kind of summarized all in one. I think that some people are using practitioner now to show the application of practice to work, and that this is not just a job where people come into it to plan events, that there really is a practice involved, best practice, evidence-based work. Using the word educator, talking about how these professionals are educating in support of what's happening in the classroom and outside of the classroom, which you all have really hit the nail of the nail on. And then, the student affairs professional. I'd say that's probably the one that I hear the most, student affairs professional. SA pro is what you'll hear or see sometimes in group chats or social media. I think that with this work, and I hope you're all seeing that you can take really the application of your readings and your discussions, which are really good. You're really digging in. I say that a lot, I think, but you're really getting into the work and you're thinking about, how could I apply this to my work now, my future work, in my role as a leader? And I think that's really essential when you're making the decisions about, what programs stay, what go, what staff stay, what go, what's essential for the student experience. Having a good knowledge of all the operations of the institution will only make you a more successful leader and will make you appreciated by those that you're leading to. Couple of things about balance. I think balance was really big in Module 4 in particular. And I always like to approach it thinking about challenge and support. This is something we do a lot in conduct. You'll see this in student development theory, which some of you noted. But thinking about, at what point does my support become challenge, and what point does my challenge become support? So, I would use this a lot as a student conduct professional, thinking about, supporting that student, holding them accountable to the policies and procedures when they might be coming to me, with tears to say, I made a mistake. I'm a bad person. Okay, so in that conversation, I can say, yes, you made a mistake. That doesn't mean you're a bad person. It just mean that you made a bad choice. And so we all do that in our conversations and our work in higher ed, and all of that is essential. And I think in some ways you do that naturally. But there are times when I might have had to say to a student, even though you want to be here, I am telling you that this is not the best place for you, both by the choices that you made and then therefore the consequences that I need to issue, or what what now is kind of on your plate and the decision to render. So, and that might mean a suspension. So I think that we know that balance. In some ways, some people feel like that balance is challenged often, and sometimes it is, and you have to think, at what point you're like, am I being too rigid with this? Do I need to take a step back and look at the gray? Do I need to think about this from an ethical standpoint? Asking yourself those questions throughout your career will only be helpful and will only make you a better professional. And I think that while that may be changing over time, or maybe a better way to say this is more emphasized over time, it doesn't mean that you still can't hold true to the mission of your institution, the goals of your classroom, the goals of your program, and the expectations that you have as a leader. So someone also pointed out about how some of these student issues that we're discussing in the text also apply to new employees, maybe those that are fresh out of graduate school or undergrad. I think that is very true. I actually face this quite often, and thinking about what can I do to adapt my ways of learning, teaching, and leading that are applicable to new generations of employees. And I think if you're not asking yourself that as a senior leader or an executive leader, then you're falling short. So in some ways, keeping yourself up to date on best trends, keeping yourself up to date on those concerns of students will also help you with your new entering professionals too. I think too, talking about, someone pointed out about social media as a retention tool. I'm actually responsible for retention here at Edgewood as a chief retention officer, and we look at everything. It runs the full gamut, and I do believe that social media is a big tool to help engage students and kind of form that sense of belonging, especially as they're navigating those networks and finding themselves present there. How can you make sure that's an asset tool for you and not something seen as a deficit? It's interesting, even just a year later in my last year's class, some people really still viewed social media as negative. And this year, no one commented really on like the outright evil of social media. And I think that shows our quick evolution of an embrace in higher ed of social media as an asset. So I think that's really great to see. And then there was a lot of discussion about parents. So parents actually play a big role for me professionally and personally. That's actually what I wrote my dissertation topic on, is parental involvement in student conduct. So I actually do love talking about parents and FERPA and the navigation of all those together. And in fact, we can talk about that more when we meet as a WebEx group. But overall, here's what I would give advice on, both from my research as well as practices that I see in my work throughout my career and even today, is thinking about parents ultimately have a motivation to support their student and help them be successful. And when you look at that goal in comparison to ours, it's the same. And so where I see parents kind of sometimes go off a deep end one way or the other, it's because they don't know where a good place for them is. And so I think institutions are successful when they establish that place for parents and they establish that connection point so that the parent can stay connected and navigate systems in a way that's healthy for them, as well as supportive for the autonomy development of their student. We also need to recognize the importance of parents and that they know their child better than any of us do at this point. And we also need to recognize that some students don't want their parents involved, but the parent does. And so it's navigating that and actually providing support for the families and the support networks around the student. Because even though a student may not have a parent or a family that's supporting them, they always have some sort of support network. Maybe that's us. And so figuring out how is that nurtured and how is that relationship enhanced or supported for the betterment of the student and not adversarial. So I think parents and families and support networks have a very important place when strategically aligned with your work and your communications and your mission. Those are my notes for Module 4. I think y'all are doing great. A couple notes about our upcoming class. Next module, we will be having a WebEx meeting instead of having our discussion board with our essence readings. So you'll see there won't be any posts for that next week, but we're actually going to be doing that via WebEx in our session together. So that session is going to be on September 28th, as it says, we've noted in syllabus, but I want to have the time be from noon until 3. I would like for you to block that time. I don't know if we're going to need that full 3 hours, but I want to make sure that you have that time reserved so you can be actively engaged in the discussion. So you can, you'll pull up, I'll have a WebEx link created for us. We'll all meet there in a group setting. We'll be talking about essence. We're also going to be dipping a little bit into hot topics. So I want you to be thinking about what are some of those hot topic areas. This is a discussion thread that we used to have in the class where you'd add it to your essence discussions. But this time I wanted to separate that out and have you think about what's something that's just like really hot topic right now in your field, in higher ed in particular, but I want it to be tied in some way to students and student affairs. So a couple examples, and some of you may want to talk about this, free speech issues, hate speech issues, Title IX, food insecurity, housing insecurity, thinking about even like the student as a customer or as a learner. So all of those things that we've kind of been talking about, but a little bit to dig into a little bit deeper. So those are some of the discussions we'll be having. So it's a way for us to have a discussion virtually, but face-to-face when we come for our WebEx sessions. So if you have a challenge with that time, let me know. If you have a challenge navigating WebEx, let me know. I have some tutorials I'm sure you can explore. But if you've been watching these videos, you should be able to navigate just fine. So with that, that's all I have for now. And if you have any questions, please let me know. Also, make sure, I hope everyone viewed this video as it has those details for our Saturday session on September 28th. for now, I'll leave you and talk with you soon.